craft in a cave. Now that might be a weird thing to say, and I don't mean an actual cave like with bats. Although I like bats. Maybe some bats, not real ones. But what I mean is I want to sit in my creation area and have my supplies all here. Currently, all my supplies are just in opposite corners of the room. For example, if I want to paint something, my paint palettes are over there in that cabinet. If I need paintbrushes, they're in this rolling cart over here. And if I need the actual paint, it is over there on the closet door. So if I want to paint something, I have to go to 3 locations to get what I need. What would be great is if all the paint supplies that I needed were like right here. And I could just go, oh, I need to paint this brown, because that's probably what I would say. And then I can grab all the things I need, paint, and then put them all back. So the plan for today is to completely reorganize my studio. And when I say today, I probably mean several days. I'm gonna be filming this kind of like a vlog, showing you some of the things that I'm doing. So it'll be a mixture of things on my phone and things on my camera. I have a friend coming over to help me, so that is so kind of her. She's giving up some of her own time to help me do this, but it means I won't have to move any of these heavy things by myself. I did draw out a plan, measure everything, and then I purchased some shelves. They were expensive shelves, but because I started planning this in July, it was June, probably. I was able to save up and get some really nice shelves. They're very sturdy, and I'm hoping I can even display some more of my actual projects in the background. So I guess that's the introduction to this project. I don't know if my friend's going to want to be on camera. She'll be here in just an hour or so. I have all the shelves ready to be put together, and let's do it. I hope you enjoy it. Let's first start with a tour of how it currently looks. Here is my current workstation and everything you mostly see in the background of my videos. I have my desk, and this is usually where my camera stands for the intros like I just did for you. Over here is my computer area where I work on editing and other things. And then I have some storage over here. This little white cabinet has been with me since my last studio. I'm going to keep it, but it's going to be moving to another area. Next to the desk over here is where the captain's quarters used to sit. It is a table that I found on the side of the road, and then I have all of these boxes that contain some of the items for the captain's quarters and the Fairfield. Right now, the captain's quarters items are just leftover construction items. So I plan to get rid of that table because the Addams family has a table of its own. It actually has a base. It has been sitting here since I got home from the museum trip, and I have a special place planned out for the Addams family house, so it does stand out when you first walk into this room. Behind the Addams family house, we have a bench. I have my printer station over there with all the different papers, my wood supplies. There's my paint that I mentioned on the back of the closet door. And over here is the Beetlejuice house and quite a few other items that need to be sorted and organized and put away. I have some items up here on this shelf, and then I have my 3D printer over here and some other supplies underneath that. On the other side of the Addams family house, you can see the bench that I mentioned, and this is my recycling supply right here. It's gotten a little out of hand and could probably be organized a bit better. What do you think, Stormy? And then I have my 1930s kitchen kit that I still need to work on, and some other things that have just kind of built up. And then out there is Studio Tudio and the laser and everything. So I'm not going to be touching out there for this vlog unless we have time. I'm mostly going to be focusing on this room and totally reorganizing it so I can craft in the cave of my dreams. Once my friend arrived, we immediately started packing some of the smaller things into random boxes. This wasn't a time to sort, this was just a time to clear the area so we could deal with some of the larger pieces of furniture. And of course, as I went along, I decided to sweep little bits of all sorts of things get underneath my projects, my tables, and it's a good time to clear all of that out. My hope is that almost everything I pull off of a shelf or off the wall will eventually be put back up somewhere else, but it will all be reorganized so that efficiency is the top priority. A lot of what I have here has been purchased for my past studio, so these shelves are actually one of the first purchases I've made specifically for this space. I've just kind of made do with the furniture that I had, which has been great, and I'm so thankful for my studio space and the furniture, but I do feel like I needed a bit more vertical organization. I just wasn't taking full advantage of the vertical space I have in this room. These shelves are from Uline. They're very heavy duty, so I don't have to worry about how much weight I put on them, and I don't have to worry about them falling over. Because they are so industrial, they're not really made for home floors, so I did put little pieces underneath the legs so that it wouldn't be cutting or pushing into my floor. I put 2 shorter shelves on the wall near the window and then one longer shelf that is actually going to be the backdrop of where the Addams Family house is going to go. Upon putting up these shelves, I immediately started to get that cave-like feeling, which is exactly what I was going for. Now that the shelves and most of the large pieces of furniture were in place, it was time to double check that the Addams Family fit in the spot I was hoping it would fit into. Because if it didn't fit here, we were definitely going to have to make some changes to my initial plan. Thankfully, we were able to move things over inch by inch, and there is just enough room for the Addams Family to exist in that spot, which means it is going to be the first thing I see every morning when I walk into my studio, which I'm excited about that. Now that the really large pieces were in place, I was able to start thinking about the medium-sized pieces, which one of them is this mail organizer that I purchased also from Uline. It is specifically for, like offices that have multiple people that need to get their mail, but I'm going to be using it for my paper organization. And I have this lovely package that was sent to me by my friend Brad. He spent a ton of time cutting up different pieces of chipboard and other materials for me, so I was excited to get those organized. They're right next to my desk, so anytime I need something, I can just grab it. I'm also going to put my little box of mat board scraps, so I am ready to create with paper. If you watch my channel at all, you know I love making miniatures with paper. So now we're on the other side of the room trying to figure out the best way to organize this. The first thing was getting everything out of the space so that we could see what we were working with. And as you can see, Stormy was supervising everything to make sure that we did it all correctly. I had to move everything out of the way of this little nook. It's supposed to be like a TV entertainment cabinet, but I'm going to turn it into my editing space and just kind of swap spaces with Beetlejuice because Beetlejuice definitely needs more light. My friend just took off for the day and I'm at a stopping point to where if I do any more, I'm going to kind of be working on top of myself. I need Mr. Technology's help to move my computer over because he's kind of done a lot of the cord management and I want to make sure I don't mess up anything that he has already worked on. So the next thing will be moving my computer over to where I just moved my desk. I'm very happy with these shelves. I'm excited to get things organized on the shelf, and I definitely have that cave feeling. And even without my friend being here, knowing how I introduced the video, she said it kind of feels like a cave. And I was like, she didn't want to insult me by saying that, and I was so excited because that's exactly what I was going for. So there's still lots to do. Right now it's still just in the furniture moving and positioning stage. It's coming together. It's coming to be what I had envisioned. So, yay! After she left, I had to do a bit more editing, even though I didn't have a desk in that area, but I made it work. It's the next day. Last night, Mr. Technology helped me get all of my computer stuff moved from one side to the other. It's all set up and the cables are managed. And currently I'm in the middle of editing the museum trip video, which you will see way before this one. And so most of today's work is going to happen on the other side of the room where my computer used to be. This side of the room is going to be the future home of the Beetlejuice project. One of the problems I have working on it is it's hard to pull it out of the corner and into a space that has lighting. I have lights that run across this side of the room this way, and for a long time I did my videos at my desk, which was right here, which is why I needed the lights over here. But I now have a crafting desk that's separate from my editing desk. So it made a lot more sense for me to move my editing desk away from the lighting because you don't need video of me editing. So now these track lights that run back and forth over here are perfect for working at my crafting desk and in this soon-to-be open area, which will have the Beetlejuice house. My friend's coming back today. She's been so kind to dedicate a few days for me to help me. Don't worry, I'm taking her to lunch and letting her know how grateful I am. But as soon as she gets here, we're gonna work on clearing all of this out and moving Beetlejuice across the room. I feel like this area was a lot easier to clear out because everything was just kind of in big chunks now. It wasn't as small pieces and as many pieces as there were over near my working desk. I've had this black shelf for a very long time, so all we did was change the shelf heights so that they would fit these little cardboard boxes. These are my project boxes that I have for each one of my projects, and having them all in one location instead of on the floor all over my studio is going to be really helpful. Then we can move on to the focus of this corner, which is definitely the Beetlejuice project. This project is put together in many different layers, so it had to be moved in many different layers. And fun fact, my friend that you see me helping here, her husband is the one who built the base that we're moving at this moment for my Beetlejuice project. So they're great family friends and very supportive of my work and my projects, so I'm very thankful for that. And now Beetlejuice is in its new spot. Over on the other side, I'm creating a little 3D printing space that's going to be near the closet doors. I also realized I have all of these flat pieces up against the wall, and I looked at them and then decided I didn't want to deal with it at that point, so I moved on to something else. This is how the room's looking so far. I am going to get to the flat items, I promise, but at the moment I was just like, I'm moving on. There's just some things I was not ready to work with. This clip panning around the room is showing you that all of the major furniture pieces are finally in place. So we decided to pick up the room a little bit and then work on some more detail organization. The first thing being working on all of my paint. This was one of the major projects, and I even mentioned it at the beginning of this video, one of the major pains of how I previously had my studio organized. I had my paint all over the place. So we decided to gather every single paint bottle, my airbrush, anything that had anything to do with paint palettes, paint brushes. We put them all in one spot so that we could see what we had and reorganize it in a more efficient way. And as you can see, there was quite a bit. This is a years and years and years and years, maybe even a decade-long collection worth of paint. And it's time to get it working for me instead of me just like constantly chasing after it all over my studio. Previously, this shoe rack was helping me organize my printer and my printer paper, but now it's going to be my paint shelf. It's going to be behind me in my videos, easy to access, especially during live streams. Anytime I need paint, it's going to be right behind me. I can grab it and get to work. Underneath the shoe rack, I have all of my flat items like palettes or paintbrush sets. And then everything else is organized into like items or items that work together, such as my airbrush paint and my airbrush. My friend also came up with this really great idea to reuse the box that my paper organizer came in, and this is going to be my new recycle storage. This box fits almost perfectly on this lower shelf, so instead of using this basket, I am going to put everything into this box. And it's going to become like this cardboard drawer that I can pull out anytime I need to grab something that's a recyclable or any pieces of plastic that I can use for windows. I seriously get into my recyclable stuff all the time. So this is going to be amazing. And also Stormy approved, so you know it's a great idea. The next thing I wanted to do was put my greenery in some other sort of storage bin. It's been in this same large plastic bag for years, and it's just become a pain to try and search for anything. So I got one of these cardboard boxes, and I'm gonna put all of my greenery, and then also including like my sand and rocks, anything that has to do with exteriors are going to go in these two boxes, which are going to go on this lower shelf. So it's the end of the day, and I feel like I didn't film that much today. We got a lot moved around, but today was a little bit more planning. We specifically worked really hard on getting everything having to do with paint into one area, and I've compiled a collection of areas. So if you are thinking about rearranging your workspace, I am actually going to make a downloadable PDF so that you can see the kind of workroom categories that I ended up coming up with. Now, if you do a slightly different type of miniature, then you may have a totally different set of categories. So if you want to download that, it is in the description box below. However, at the moment, I am just going off of a written set, and so I will tell you a little bit about what we have decided to do. Tomorrow morning, my incredibly kind friend is coming back one more time to go with me to IKEA to gather the last final organizing things that we need to really put the finishing touch on this studio. We really had to get, I would say, about 60 to 70% done before we knew what we needed. I got all the furniture moved around first, so everything is in its place. And from there, I started working with the things that were the most important to me, such as the paint, which I already mentioned. Then I worked on the next most important, and by saying most important, I mean the thing that I'm reaching for the most. So that's all for today. I'm excited to share some more organizing with you tomorrow. I didn't end up filming any of our trip to IKEA, but we just got a lot of bins, a ton of bins. And again, this was another expense, but I knew this project was coming and I had saved up for it. And I just really wanted to make sure that I was putting in the time and the effort now to get things as organized as possible. And now that I'm working with the bins, this is where that PDF I told you about really came in handy. This is my filler bin, so it has a bunch of like the drywall spackling, wood filler, anything that could be used as a filler in paint or glue, that is going in that first bin. Then I started working with my polymer clay. I put all of my polymer clay and also my mold making items into this bin, and I had one bin for the polymer clay, and then I had another bin for my polymer clay tools. A lot of times I didn't use polymer clay because it was in a totally different room. It wasn't even in my studio, and now it's right next to me, so hopefully I can grab for it a little bit more often. As soon as I got all of my like items into a bin, I immediately added a label. These labels are going to be so helpful in allowing me to just scan all of my bins and being able to pull out the one that is what I need for whatever project I happen to be working on. My friend took on the monumental task of going through my miscellaneous drawers. My brain just completely would shut down whenever I looked at all the different things that were in there, but she endured and sorted everything for me into the different bins. And then I went through some drawers that I knew had items that would work better inside one of these bins, or was better to be on the shelves rather than in a drawer across the room. These drawers are going to be more dedicated towards resin items, whereas before they had random tools and doll making supplies. Now I'm going to work on my rolling cart, which I have not worked on in so long. This is everything that was in that rolling cart, which I know it just looks like a ton of stuff. But I just slowly went through and, well, first I vacuumed because, you know, crumbs and all sorts of stuff build up over time. But then I went and put back like items. So I have a big jar of rulers, and then I had a tub of sanding supplies such as files and sandpaper. That's going to go in this section as well. And then I just put items that I know that I'm using for almost every single project. So my favorite glues, my Q-tips that I use, my 1, 2, 3 blocks. I wanted to make sure they had a dedicated space that every time I'm done using them, they go back into the same spot. I have a little jar with my most commonly used pens, pencils, and scissors, and of course, my Post-it notes, which I love to use all the time. On the second row, I have items I don't use as often, so either glue refills or glues that I'm just not using all the time, some tools, and then my larger pens such as Sharpies or chalk pens, and then some pens and pencils that I just don't know what to do with. And on the lower level, I put some of my items with cords, such as my fan and glue gun, and then a small vacuum. I'm not going to show all of the organizing because we would be here 4 hours, but I'll show you what it ends up looking like. I have my project bins on the top, and then I have some of my more commonly used items here. I tried to only do 2 deep most of the time because these bins can get heavy. So there's 2 deep on this shelf, and then I did go 3 deep down below. But these items are going to be easier to reach because it's more on my level and I'm not worrying about a heavy bin falling on top of me. So you can see the categories I sorted things into. I also have a wires bin because I'm always switching out cameras and microphones, so that's all there. And in this blank space, I plan to make an office for Mini Aira. That will be a future project. Down below, I had my recycling box. And then on the top of the other shelf, more near the wall, I have my entire miniature collection. So this is miniature furniture, miniature accessories, and it really needs to be organized better, but at least it's all in one spot. Underneath that, I had a few projects that are ongoing, and of course you've already seen this area. And on that lower area, I have some boxes that have been sent to me that I need to figure out what to do with or what projects they're going into. I also wanted to show this cabinet that sits underneath my toolbox. It has all of my glue and tape items and 1 empty bin that I can fill up with something, but for right now I'm just glad that there's an empty space. The 3D printer area is all set up, and then I didn't show you the before on this closet, but it did have a set of drawers that were just basically falling in on themselves. So my friend suggested these sweater organizers from IKEA, and this has been a wonderful way to organize all of my fabric, my needle felting stuff, and my sewing stuff. So I'm much happier with this space as well. It's a bit later now. It's actually a new year. Happy New Year, happy 2024. We've gone through Christmas, gone through New Year's, and now I'm wanting to wrap up some of the things that I've done. Working on this big space has been really fun. However, I'm ready to get it finished so that I can get back to the real reason you're watching this channel, the miniatures. During the break, one of the things I've decided to do is wallpaper this side of the room. I have wallpaper on my usual background behind my desk. There's bricks in my intro and in my outro, and so I feel like the bricks really make my videos cohesive, so I want them on this side of the room as well. I found some more wallpaper. It's not an exact match to my previous wallpaper, but it will work. So my friend is coming over to help me, and we'll get started on bricking this side of the room. I plan for this side to be in a lot more videos, so I think it'll be worth it. Unfortunately, they no longer made the bricks that I used on the other side of the room. I put those up several years ago, so I had to go with a new type of brick or a new order of brick, and this is a peel and stick print, and for some reason we could not figure out how to line this brick up. It would not line up. None of the grout lines seemed to work. We turned it back and forth. We moved it all over the place. So I'm not going to link this paper just for the pure frustration that it did not line up, and I feel like wallpaper probably should line up. But we did get it to work, and I did like the peel and stick part of it. That was really, really easy. I was afraid it wouldn't work because this wall is actually pretty bumpy, but it did. It worked okay. I probably should have purchased at least 1 more roll of this paper to go a little bit past that shelf that you can see there on the right. But I did get just enough to cover this corner area, and we did end up having to patch some of it together to make sure that it would work.
I wanted enough to go across the top of this window area because you will probably see some of that in my videos. At this point, I was hoping that moving some of the furniture back and hanging up the pictures on the walls would really help cover up the non-matching edges.
That only ended up taking about 3 hours, so not too bad. I'm not sure I would suggest this wallpaper print specifically because none of the bricks really wanted to line up. I could get like a few lined up at the top, and then they would be not lined up, and then there might be a few lined up at the bottom. So I feel like the bricks I used previously, which of course you can't order anymore, lined up so much better. But it got the job done for a background, and once I put up all my wall hangings, I don't really think you'll notice that much. It'll just kind of look like a brick wall in the background, which is what it's supposed to do. So now I will get to hanging things back up and doing the final details on the room.
I have a few more things that I need to get framed or I want to fix the frames for and get hung up on the wall, but for now I'm hanging up all of the things that were previously on my old wall, and I think it'll be really fun to have these items in the background, which those who have been here for a while feel very familiar in the background of my videos, and now in this new space they will be there as well. It was my birthday over the holiday break, and my sister gave me this dollhouse cabinet. It's really cute, but it currently looks like a shadowy void on my wall, so I'll probably be repainting it and maybe putting some finishes on it, so I'm excited to work on that in the future. I couldn't just leave the non-matching grout lines alone, so I took a little bit of acrylic paint and decided to go over some of those areas. It's still not going to be a perfect match, but I'm just hoping to hide that stark line that's in between each row of brick to make it look more like a cohesive wall. This is probably going to be something I do over a few months. Whenever something just kind of annoys me, I can grab some paint, a paintbrush, and go over it. I also decided to get a matching rug for this area, especially because I will be filming over here. It tends to be a bit more echoey on this side of the room, so I'm going to lay down a rug. Although I did realize I did not get a rug, like the piece that goes underneath that keeps it from slipping. And I heard this tip where you can use some hot glue underneath the rug to give it some more friction against the floor. I really don't want to slip and fall in the studio when I'm carrying a project around, and that worked really well, although it's going to sound like this for a little bit while it settles. Now that the rug's in place, I can work on another project that I already had the materials for. These are the same lights that I used in the captain's quarters, that I used in the Addams family house. And for the first time ever, I am using them for their actual purpose, which is to go underneath cabinets. They usually show them underneath kitchen cabinets, but I wanted to put them underneath these shelves to highlight the projects that are going to be sitting behind me. So I've got them in place, although I don't like that the camera can see the lights because I just really think it takes your eyes off the projects. So I cut some MDF strips, and these are just going to sit on the side of the shelves and cover up the lights. I also added a little strip of mirror paper to the back of these pieces so that it's kind of reflecting the light backwards onto the projects. I'm hoping this will be a cool feature in my video so you can see the projects that I'm working on no matter what my video is about. To wrap up this video, I'm actually going to unwrap something, which is going to be the Addams family house. I originally started planning this redesign specifically because I knew the Addams family house was coming home and I wanted a place to put it. I've left it wrapped up because I knew all of this was going to be happening around the project and I didn't want to have it falling over or anything getting hit. So now I can take out all of the stuffing. I'm not going to put everything back into the project right now, but I'm just going to get the structure put back together so it looks like it's supposed to look when you walk into the room. Before I show you the final tour, I'm going to show you what it used to look like, which to me is wild because it was about 2 months ago when we first put in the shelves. It's been that long since I have finished up this project and am posting the video finally. That was the before, and here is the after. want to be real with you that not everything is perfectly in its place. I still have some boxes to go through and some things to put away. There are some things in my living room that need to come back into my workspace, so this is going to be a work in progress for a while. But I am really happy with everything that we got done. I feel way more organized, and I really feel like I achieved the dream of being able to craft in a cave. So this will be the new backdrop for my videos. I'm still trying to figure out how to set up the camera and the lights and everything. I'm also still working on the soundproofing so it's not super echoey. And there's plenty of things I still need to organize. Mainly all of my miniatures that are still just sitting at the top of this shelf. But I did want to go ahead and wrap up this video even though not everything is done, so that I could go ahead and start some of my videos that I'm going to be making in 2024. Speaking of 2024, since this is a new year, I did want to quickly talk about my goals. Last year I created 4 goals, and I want to let you know if I actually completed them. The first one was to finish the captain's quarters, and I did get that done, thankfully, because of a deadline, so that is complete. Goal 2 was to finish the first floor of the Beetlejuice house, which I also did. Goal 3 was to put more Fairfield videos in the rotation, and I'm not sure I did a great job of that. However, I did have a great collab with Queen City Minis, and she made so many amazing detail pieces for the Fairfield, which really got my excitement for that project going again. And goal 4 was a goal for my shop, which was to create the 1930s kitchen room to go with my 1930s items. And I did create that room, however, I did not get it into my store. So we'll do like a half point on that one. I'm actually pretty surprised on how well I did on the goals, so I'm going to keep this year's goals similar, just 4. 3 are going to be channel goals, and 1 is going to be a goal for my store. My first goal for 2024 is to finish the Fairfield. I want to wrap up that project and call it done. There's also a new project I want to start after the Fairfield, but I've been pretty strict about making sure I finish a project before I start a new one, and I want to keep going with that because I think that has really helped me from getting too overwhelmed. My second goal is going to be to finish the second floor of the Beetlejuice house, and hopefully I'll even be able to get to the attic because the second floor is not as many rooms as the first floor, and the attic is really just one giant room. So at least the second floor, hopefully I will also get to the attic. My third goal for the channel is to start my new cardboard house project, and this is going to be the project that I'm starting now that the captain's quarters is complete. So that is the project it's replacing, if you're wondering. And that's why I have the old cardboard house pulled out, as you can see on the shelf back here. It is going to be kind of taken apart and remade into a new project, which I think is the ultimate recycling project of a dollhouse, is to turn a dollhouse you're not using anymore into a new project. And my fourth goal, which is going to be a store goal, is, well, okay, so it's like a sub part to last year's goal, which is to actually get the kitchen room into my store. That will be coming soon. But besides that, I want to create furniture that will actually furnish my fireplace room, which has been one of the most popular kits in my store. However, I just don't have a lot of furniture that really matches its vibe, so I want to create more furniture that will go with that style of room. So feel free to let me know if you have any goals that you're working towards in 2024. You can let me know down in the comments. And if you're someone who left your goals on the 2023 goal video, which I will link down below, you can go check, see if you left a comment, and see if you accomplished some of your goals as well. You might be surprised. I was surprised. I was surprised at how well I did. I think the key is to keep your goals simple and attainable. So that's all I have for you in this video. I am so excited to get working in this new space. It's all clean and organized, but I'm ready to mess it up. Let's make some unique, chaotic builds in 2024 and have a lot of fun. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. And moving Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice.
My face is red.
What? I was like, ugh. Surprise! I'll put that in the video. My third goal for That's what I say at the beginning of my videos. Like, I want to craft in a cave.
Aw, okay, good. I was almost afraid I was insulting, but I'm glad you like it.
No, that's what I've been wanting. It's like,
Yeah.
I want my stuff surrounded.